How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm going solo today. Just wanted to come on here and give my thoughts on what happened to the Mavs on Tuesday night. They played the Oklahoma City Thunder in the NBA Cup quarterfinals. It was at OKC. The last time the Mavs played the Thunder, they did not have Luka. And they were still able to beat the Thunder in OKC because P.J. Washington went off for 27 points and 17 rebounds. This time around, the Thunder got the best of the Mavs. They ended up winning 118 to 104. The Mavs did not have P.J. Washington in this game. There's a nasty, some kind of illness going around, probably a stomach virus or something to that nature. Or we know that Naji Marshall had an upper respiratory illness. So, there's something going around, some kind of virus or flu or, something that seems to be spreading throughout this roster. And look, I wouldn't be shocked if it came out that Luka and Kyrie had a little bit of that sickness because this game against the Thunder was not great. The Mavs just didn't seem to have real high energy in this game. Your high scores for this game for the Mavs were Klay Thompson with 19 and Naji Marshall with 19. Luka only had 16 points. He only had like 4 points going into the fourth quarter, I believe. And he shot 5 of 15 overall. Kyrie Irving had 17 points. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 39 points. He outscored both Luka and Kyrie combined. So that is not a winning formula for the Mavs. And, when you're already down P.J. Washington, who is a certified Thunder killer, it's hard to get a win against the best team in the West when you're missing him and then your main guys aren't on top of their game. And look, we got to give the Thunder some credit too, because that team is absolutely stacked. They have, I saw there's one guy that I follow on X who is a Warriors fan and podcaster, Sam Esfandiari. I don't know if any of you guys know him, but he tweeted something out last night that I thought was pretty funny and accurate. But he said that there's so many teams around the league, looking to add a guard that's a point of attack defender and also a connector on offense. And the Thunder have like half of those guys in the league on one roster. And it's kind of true. They're so hard-nosed and good defensively. Everybody they put out there on the floor knows how to guard well. That's the weakest defender that they roll out there is probably Isaiah Joe. And even he has some really decent moments defensively. So, Jalen Williams, Isaiah Hartenstein, SGA, Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, Kendrick Williams, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins even. So they're long, they're hard-nosed. They know how to get it done on the defensive end of the floor. They're the number one defense in the league for a reason. The Mavs, they got to be on top of their game if they're going to, be able to beat the Thunder. Having 18 turnovers for, the Mavs are one of the top teams in the league and not turning the ball over. And they had 11 turnovers, which is around their average for the season at halftime. So, that's not going to cut it. They were making some really lazy plays. Luka tried to take the top off the defense, so to speak, with a full court pass a couple times in that first half, and it got intercepted every time. The lob attempts are lacking. The Mavs aren't getting very many lob attempts anyway so far this season, but even when they do have that opportunity, the passes just, they're not quite on point, or, the bigs just aren't locating it correctly and finishing. So, several different things, didn't go the Mavs' way in this one. But some bright spots, from that game is one, Klay Thompson having 19 points, hitting 5 of his 10 threes. I thought he was solid. He looked okay defensively, but obviously you don't want Klay guarding SGA. I think that's, him biting off a little bit more than he can chew. But again, I mean, if you have PJ Washington in there, that lessens the strain on some of these other guys trying to contain SGA, because I mean, you're not going to stop SGA. The mid-range game he has is unstoppable. It's pure, it's smooth, it's that's his bread and butter. And you're not going to stop it. But, as we saw in the playoffs last season, if you can just contain him a little bit, or, just let him get his and contain the others around him, then, you have a pretty decent chance at winning. So that's it is what it is. And another thing, the Thunder shot 14 more threes than the Mavs did, and they made 23s in comparison to the Mavs 15 threes. So that's a pretty big difference in and of itself. 5 threes, so that's 18 points. The Mavs lost by 14 points. You do the math. I mean, that's pretty easy to see the difference there. So couple more things I want to talk about this game, and I want to give a really big shout out to Omax and talk about his performance too. But before I do that, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back on the other side of this to talk about a few more things, and we'll wrap this up, and we'll look forward to what's next for the Mavs, and we'll talk about that too, because the scheduling thing, we won't know exactly what happens until after Wednesday night's NBA action. So stick with us. We'll be right back. What's up, y'all? We're taking a quick break to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Want to play Prize Picks alongside Drewski, Joe Budden, and MMA champ Sugar Sean O'Malley? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code STEPBACK to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code STEPBACK on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay, so one thing that my guy Drew Johnson and I have talked about so many times throughout this season is, the two most important things. There's several things that you can look at that determine the outcome of a game, but the two most important things, in our opinion, turnovers and rebounding. And, for a team that has Derek Lively and has Daniel Gafford, one of the best, if not the best, center duo in the entire league, you should not be getting beat on the boards as bad as the Mavs did in this one. It was 52-44 in favor of the Thunder, which really, that difference doesn't really do it justice. The Mavs gave up 17 offensive rebounds in this game. And given, the Thunder shot 53 pointers. So, and they missed 30 of them. So that's 30 long rebounds. But, giving up 17 offensive rebounds is just inexcusable, in my opinion. So, that's especially when you have Lively and Gafford. Thought there were several times where they could have been stronger with the ball. It's, I don't know. It just wasn't a good game for either of them. And it makes you wonder, as good as those guys are, are they going to be as effective as we've seen sometimes in the regular season when it comes postseason time? Derek Lively, we've seen it. He can be effective. We saw it in that Minnesota series. We saw it, other times throughout the playoffs. But against teams like OKC and Boston, both big men, didn't seem that valuable as far as like on court production and, affecting the outcome of the game. In the OKC series, it was PJ Washington who shot lights out, who was the main difference maker in that series. In the NBA Finals, nobody nobody could do anything for the Mavs. So, you have to wonder if, at some point, as good as it is to have those two big men and to have that insurance for the regular season, because especially with Gafford, like he feasts on like these bottom dwelling teams that the Mavs play, and makes it, how do I want to say this? It makes for easy wins because he doesn't play with his food, so to speak, when the Mavs play a lesser team and he just dominates. But when you play a team that, gets him out in space on the perimeter and knows how to create the mismatches and, get open threes or drive past him to the basket, like we saw with Jalen Williams several times last night, it causes a problem. So all that to say, I have to wonder if the Mavs would consider trading Gafford for a guy like Herb Jones with the New Orleans Pelicans, because it came out today, Bovada or Bravada, however you say it, the Mavs are apparently the odds-on favorite to trade for Herb Jones if it were to happen. And we all know the Pelicans need a center, so you'd have to think that would be, a rational trade proposal that both teams might be interested in. And obviously, I don't know exactly what New Orleans is thinking at this point, but, to add another versatile forward who could even play at the 4, the 3 or the 4, and Herb Jones, very versatile defender. He's improved his 3-point shot. He's having a down year this year, but he was awesome last year. You have to wonder if that's something that the Mavs would, consider pulling the trigger on. And then, obviously it might hurt a little bit in the regular season, but I mean, look, if you got both Derek Lively and Gafford and you still can't win the rebounding battle against OKC, who, the only big they have is Isaiah Hartenstein right now, what good is it doing for you, especially since teams are taking away the lob? I mean, the lob just hasn't been there all season for the Mavs, and they've had a tough time adjusting to it. Now, Lively, on the other hand, he's not all the way there yet. He's having kind of a sophomore slump kind of season, but he's longer and taller than Gafford, and he moves better in space. He has perimeter defensive potential, 1 through 5 guarding potential, in my opinion. He's not quite there just yet, but he's already better than Gafford in that area. And, we've seen what kind of touch he has around the rim and everything. He just needs to get stronger, stay in that weight room. He'll be fine. He's 20 years old. But, adding another versatile guy like Herb Jones would be outstanding. Now, ideally, you would like to keep Gafford and trade, say Maxi Kleba and, one of Jaden Hardy or Omax Prosper and draft capital. I would prefer that package, honestly. Maxi is a negative asset, but if you can attach a young player like Hardy or Omax or, one of those two players plus draft capital, I would go that route. And then you keep Gafford, and you're able to fly through the regular season, and then you still have that versatility, adding Herb Jones. And if you have to bench Lively or Gafford in the playoffs and go, small ball, where the smallest person in your lineup is going to be Kyrie Irving and everybody else is 6'7" and up, I think that's a pretty good alternative. So it's something to look at. My guy, DJ, and me, we're going to come on here probably Thursday, so tomorrow, and we're going to have a full-fledged NBA trade pod, really a Mavs trade pod. And we're going to bounce off a bunch of ideas. And I can guarantee you Herb Jones is going to be part of it. So one more thing I wanted to mention before we take off here. DJ and I have talked extensively about how we think Omax Prosper should be getting the minutes that, Maxi Kleba has been getting in the rotation this season. And over these last 2 games, Prosper has hit more three. Let me look up the stat from my guy Panda Hank because I retweeted this last night, and it was just amazing to me because this is exactly what we've been talking about all season. But okay, so Omax in his last 2 games, including last night against the Thunder, 3 of 4 from 3 in 22 minutes. Maxi in 14 games this season is 2 of 9 from 3 in 238 minutes. And Omax is a Tasmanian devil on defense. Like, the energy is high, super athletic, chase down blocks, causes havoc, gets in passing lanes, gets deflections, steals. He is extremely active defensively. And then last night we saw how valuable he can be if he's hitting that corner 3. Because the Mavs were down 20 points in the fourth quarter, and they went on like a 15-2 run. And a big part of that was Omax hitting a couple threes. And let me put it this way. He caused some deflections on defense. He had a drive to the basket that led to a pass to Daniel Gafford that turned into a 3-point play. And then he had a corner 3 from the left-hand side of the floor that made the score 100-102 with a little over 7 minutes remaining in the game, cutting the lead from 20-8 with 7:30 left, I think it was. You started to think, oh, well, maybe the Mavs are going to make a comeback here. Because, it just felt like things were turning their way. But then, OKC took a timeout and proceeded to go on an 11-0 run after that timeout. And, that was pretty much the game from there. So, but yeah, Omax, great minutes, very young, promising wing. He was I think he was a 3-year college player. So, not as much potential as a guy that's, 18, 19 coming out of college and going to the NBA, but still has a lot of potential, still very young, and he hasn't gotten a lot of real minutes. And he has gotten real minutes in these last 2 games for the Mavs in Toronto and now in OKC, and we see the potential that he holds. So my hope is that Jason Kidd realizes that Omax is giving you more than Maxi is, like much more efficient minutes from Omax. So play Omax instead of Maxi. And my hope is that, Omax can take this momentum and this confidence that he's gained from these last 2 games and progress on it as this season goes forward. It'll only mean good things for the Mavs, especially, when they get to the postseason, because all of a sudden, like I said, if your bigs get nullified in the postseason, Omax becomes a much more valuable piece for you, more versatile piece for you if you have to go small ball, even though Omax is 6'8" in the playoffs. So, the Mavs are 16-9 now, and with that loss, they're still 4th in the West, and they've still won 8 of their last 10 games. That was only the second double-digit loss for the Mavs this season. The other one came in the second game of the season at the end of October when they played in Phoenix. It was 114-102. Every other loss the Mavs have had, aside from this OKC loss and the Phoenix loss, have been by a combined 3.7 points, which is crazy. So many close losses. But now we wait and see what happens next. The Warriors play the Rockets on Wednesday night. If the Warriors win, the Mavs will host the Rockets on Friday. If the Rockets beat the Warriors, then the Mavs will travel to San Francisco and play the Warriors in the Bay on Friday. So kind of hoping the Warriors win because I think the Mavs desperately need a home game. It's been a rough month with a lot of travel. I know guys are tired, and there's been that sickness going around. So, all things considered, things are looking up for the Mavs, but we're keeping an eye on not just the how much rest they get, and then this upcoming homestand to end out the year, but also uh, looking at trade activity going on around the league, at least rumors and betting odds and all that stuff. So we're taking all that into consideration, and we're going to talk about it all the way through the end of the year and going into 2025. So, guys, appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Have a great week. We'll be back on here again Thursday to talk about all things trade related, a full pod talking about everything Mavs trade related. So, we appreciate it. Y'all be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Y'all have a good one.